Good evening, everyone. This is the Personnel Board meeting for the town of Westport. Today is November 1. The time is 7:07 p.m. We are having an open session this evening. I apologize that I do not have the official language to delineate this meeting as a recorded session. But if you are listening to this, you have found this on YouTube, and we are recording. The governor has allowed hybrid and remote meetings to continue through, I believe, April 1st of 2025 at minimum. So we are in open session. Okay, we have a very brief agenda this evening. We had met previously a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago, with two different firms. Is that Gary?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, yep. Hi,
All
Gary. We just started. We have a quorum, so we're just getting started. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, we met with two firms that had supplied a proposal to the town to do a wage and classification study for all of the employees in town, minus the schools, minus the school department, teachers. So it's quite an undertaking for us, but certainly long overdue. So many positions have become out of line, so to speak, that they don't really fit the classifications that they had been put into many years ago. Many of the job descriptions need to be updated, which is also a separate component of the study. And we need to know how competitive we are, whether it be over or under, in our wages that we pay our employees, because we want to be fair. And it is very difficult to find employees in every line of work, regardless whether it's clerical, labor, or whatnot. So we want to know where we stand in this so that we can more effectively and efficiently continue to add to our staff when necessary, and to make sure that we're adequately compensating the people that do work for us. So with that, I'll open it up. There were two firms. The other name, was it McNally? Was that the name of the?
McGrath.
McGrath, right? McGrath.
Yeah.
It was McGrath and GovHR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cindy,
Yes.
I know you said we were going to talk to the town administrator about the cost, or we were going to
Yes.
try to make it. Did we already do that, or?
Well, I met with him on Monday, and he said whichever firm we choose, he will then go back to them. I believe that he indicated to me at least GovHR. I'm not sure if he spoke with McGrath as well, but GovHR indicated that they have some negotiating room in their quote, and I'm sure he asked the same of McGrath.
Yeah. So then it's not like they're going to go back and cut things out of the scope of work.
No. It was really more a sense of seeing if they could cut their costs a little bit. I mean, I think certainly the advantage of having a firm like GovHR, they've done many of these very same studies for surrounding communities, or certainly many communities in Eastern Massachusetts. So they have a very good database already of many of the positions, if not all of the positions that they would be faced with, certainly for the town as well. McGrath has not done anything north of New York, the state of New York, and that's just a recent thing. So they're primarily in the Midwest. They've done some things in the Mid-Atlantic area, Virginia, the Carolinas. They've moved up a little bit now to New York State, but they have not encountered any studies here in Massachusetts at all. So I think that puts them at a disadvantage, because I think they would be starting from ground zero in getting information.
Yeah, I can speak on behalf. I mean, I'm not promoting one or the other, not by any means, but having the experience with the GovHR, I think that it's a very comprehensive study. I think that they put a lot of time and effort into what they do, and they leave you with a good document to make decisions, not only in the short term, but like what we don't want is a stale document that sits on a shelf and then in a year from now it's no good.
Right.
So they really put a lot of effort into, and they've been doing it for a while, so they have it down to a science pretty much. You know, not saying the other firm doesn't, but my experiences with GovHR that they really have the market on what we're probably going to be looking for in Westport.
Right.
And
Right.
not only that, this is a public. This becomes a public document. So we also have to keep that in mind that, you know, once this gets published, anybody can review it. Anybody can look at it and say, you know what, we can bring this to town meeting for funding down the road. Which I'm assuming that was what's the whole purpose of this, to have a fair and fair study for the employees. Right. So it's really an important document, not just to sit on the shelf.
Absolutely, absolutely, and both firms kind of discussed that to some degree, the ability to update, you know, to keep the studies current as you go along as well. So both firms addressed that, but I think GovHR addressed it a little bit better. One of the first things they had indicated was that McGrath had indicated that, you know, they would contact all of these local cities and towns to get the information about what their salary bases are, blah, blah, blah. And GovHR right away, it was interesting, Gary, because both firms listened to each other's pitch. So they knew exactly what each other was saying. And they said, those towns are never going to call you back, and they're never going to give you all the information that you need. Everybody's too busy. They're not going to run down, 130 positions and give you all.
Back in the day, like back in the day, which was pretty inconsistent. I mean, let's say I wanted to go for an additional increase as a collector, I would call comparable communities. But the problem was I wasn't really calling comparable communities. I was picking communities with maybe the same population, but not the same budget. So there was a disparity. There was a big disparity. Right. And as time goes on, that disparity gets even further and further apart, where you need a firm to complete all this. And then on top of it, job descriptions. I mean, you're only as good as a good job description, you know?
Right. Yeah. And that's what Carrie and I were talking about before the others joined. And that was, you know, the job description is a separate quote, if you will, for the information. And both of them said that they could still do the wage and classification study without it. The town administrator is very, very much wants to get the job descriptions done as well. And I can't figure out how they can do this work without having current job descriptions. I mean, it's kind of
I agree.
It's a chicken and an egg thing. I mean, you know, what one town calls the principal clerk, another town calls principal clerk, but the duties could be completely different.
Right.
So you
are we looking to pay for the job descriptions too? I would say that this is the time to do it. I mean, why would we want to do? I mean, why would we want to, entertain? And I'm not saying that we should delay this, but why would we want to entertain a study without having the other piece of this? Because, to me,
might as well do it.
Job descriptions. I think job descriptions are more important than the study to begin with.
Right.
Yeah. No, they're critical. I think I said before, you cannot do compensation without a thorough job description.
Right.
Because like you were saying, Gary, it's too many assumptions just to go off a job title. It varies widely, even with companies, and with each town should be the same. You know, they may have different reports, different scope. So I think we need to, if we're going to go for, I think we should pay for both if the town could afford it.
Right.
Oh, I agree.
Right.
How much is the job descriptions?
Well, the job description, so once again, a negotiable item. Both firms came in at about the same price for the job descriptions, and that was about, I'm going by memory here, about $22,000 extra.
I thought it was 28,000.
28. Okay, so I knew there was in the 20s somewhere. So the town administrator didn't seem to be fazed by this at all. I mean, I think he felt confident that with the appropriation that we have from town meeting currently, there's ARPA money. There's the selectmen have a professional services budget, and so with contributions from some of these different accounts, perhaps we could get to that that number that we need. So,
So how much Cindy, how much is the total, with and without, and how much did we appropriate? Do you have those numbers or no?
so it was, about, 48,000 without the job description. I don't have my packet here in front of me. It was in the 40s, without the job descriptions, and then it was in the mid to upper 20s for the additional job description. So,
McGrath
have-
was much more expensive.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So,
Well,
anyway,
I mean,
he feels
yeah.
very confident that he can negotiate their fee down.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if you wanted me to have a motion, I can make a motion. And my motion
Oh,
would be, what is it?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, my motion would be that well, as one member of the personnel board, I feel it's critical that, it's, I don't want to say all or nothing, but it's all encompassing, that
Mhm.
we need one, we can't have one without the other. And I think maybe coming from us as a group and pushing that forward and saying, listen, we need job descriptions and we need the classification study, then I think that has more teeth in it. That maybe we can, I'm just thinking out of the box, opera money, maybe some kind of reserve fund transfer or something that can get the
Right.
ball rolling, I think that's what I would put through as a motion, that we approve, or we recommend that, GovHR get the go ahead, but that is also to include job descriptions with it, and with the town administrator negotiating whatever that would be,
Right.
that cost would be.
Okay, so if I can get a second on that, then we can open that up for discussion.
I would absolutely second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, to recommend GovHR, with the caveat that we would like to have both wage and classification, as well as, job descriptions done, and the town administrator to, negotiate as best he can to, get both of those, accomplished. So any other comments, or discussion about that?
Just
No.
one more thing, Cindy. Just one more
Yeah.
thing I think I'd like to add. Part of running any kind of business or town is not just capital, like, we purchase equipment, but it's human capital. And for the longest time, the employees in town have not really, they've been behind the eight ball. And you can do the studies and you can look at it on one-offs, and we've seen it. We've seen it come to the committee. We've seen them look at other communities that were well behind. And you could take every single job class, from the schools to police to fire and so on and so forth, administration. So I think that us banding together and showing just the support, I think will begin the process of maybe having employees stick around, and have employees know that at least the town is trying to pay a fair and
Right.
comparable wage, so that we don't lose these employees, because they're good employees. I mean, we have really hard working employees in this town, and
And
I
they-
think that this is the beginning of that, and hopefully,
And they're involved.
yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're right. This shows good faith on our part to show that we're looking after them, to launch into something like this, which is, not just going to help now, but years down the road, we'll finally have a mechanism in place to do proper classification compensation. We'll make sure that whomever is chosen, that we have something. And I liked how they all said, if I may comment, how they all said that, they're not going away after the survey's done, the report's
Yes.
done, that they're there for ongoing support and questions. I really liked that.
Right.
We'll need that, I think, from time to time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's come up time and time again, the building need here to have a HR department, if you will, even if we had a consultancy, outside that we hired, because too many things are falling on the lap of the town administrator. He is not a trained HR person. He is not, and he's not meant to be. I mean, he's not well versed on so many of the, the employee protection laws that are out there now, and so many things that have changed, over the last decade. I mean, there have been so many things that have changed in the
There's
workplace.
more now than ever.
Right, right. And so, I know he's really pushing for it. The auditors were even pushing for it, that, it would really make a lot of sense for us to have someone that we can rely on that would understand some of the employee laws. And so if an employee has a problem, they have someone to go to instead of the town administrator who's also their boss. So, I mean, that in of itself is sometimes for people to, bring up sometimes, sensitive issues that they might be dealing with, and they don't want to talk to their, to the ultimate, head of personnel that in the department. They want to speak to an HR person. So we're getting closer and closer to where we really need to consider that as well. And hopefully this will be part of that movement to get us there. To know, I mean, I think that it will save us money in the long run because, he gets grievances filed all the time, and, it's workplace atmosphere, it's workplace condition. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate with, various things that happen from the employee side. And now that, the town is broken up into, I think now it's 4 or 5 different unions, completely different unions. He's got Teamsters, he's got all these different unions now. So negotiating makes
all
it very difficult.
all different dynamics too.
Yes, yeah. So so I think that this is, the right step in the right direction to establish a baseline and to try to make sure that at least we're going to do this right. I mean, I say this all the time to the finance committee. We're a $50 million corporation. We're a $50 million business. And, we have, when you include the schools and whatnot, I don't know, we have 400 plus employees, and we don't have an HR person. And it's kind of crazy that we don't. So, we've got to start doing things like we really are in the 21st century,
Right.
Before we get to the next decade. So
Maybe the next decade we'll bring an HR person one day. We'll see.
It's got to start somewhere, right? It's got to start somewhere. So I think, the town owes it to its employees. The town owes it to itself to protect itself in regarding, employee protection rules and rules that protect the town as well. I mean, we don't want to be faced with a major lawsuit because we weren't aware of certain things. So,
Right.
that's all very, very critical, very, very critical. So we have the motion, we have a second. I'll ask one more time, go around if anyone has anything else they would like to add before we vote. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, hearing no other discussion items. All those in favor, since we're doing remotely, if we could do this by roll call. I'm just going to do this in the order I see everyone on the screen. We'll do this roll call. Carrie,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and Cindy, yes. So passes unanimously with one person absent. And that's really it, our business for now. As I hear anything from the town administrator, I'll certainly pass the information on to you. If there's any reason that we need to discuss things, we would have to have a meeting to discuss it, but I'm certainly able to pass on factual information to you. We just can't discuss things as a group outside of an open meeting, but you certainly can dissect information that gets forwarded. So as I get some information, I will let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
So is there anything else that anyone needed to bring up tonight?
Nope.
No.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm glad it's 7:26. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Good. Well, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All righty. Well, we'll be in touch, and hopefully I won't have to bother you too many more times over this, but I'll let you know how things go.
That's very exciting. I have to say, this is like a
Yeah.
huge thing for the town. Very excited about it.
I
Thank
think-
you so much, Cindy, for putting
I
it
think it's
together.
great. I think it's great. Okay, good. Well, we're going to move on. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.
Good
everyone.
night.